Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. I am your host, Amy Cattapan. If you're new to Cath-Lit Live, what we do here is I bring you interviews with Catholic authors who have new books that have just released. And today I have a brand new author for you, somebody I'm just meeting for the first time this evening, but she is one of my fellow Ave Maria Press authors. We are going to be meeting Woodeene Koenig-Bricker, talking about her latest book, Praying with the Saints. So let me tell you a little bit about Woodeene before we get started here. Woodeene Koenig-Bricker is a journalist and editor with a longtime presence in the Catholic press, including being the founding editor of Catholic Parent magazine. Her interest in the intersection between faith and history has led to a lifelong interest in saints. She is the author of several books on saints, including her most recent, Praying with the Saints. In addition to her love of faith, she has a passion for ancient Egypt and recently completed an MA in Egyptology with an emphasis on ancient pet cats. Man, I wish we had time to talk more about that. That sounds really interesting. She thinks St. Gertrude, the patron of cats, would approve. I think she's right too. So please help me welcome to the show, Woodeene Koenig-Bricker. Hello, Woodeene.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome to Cath-Lit Live.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk about your book, which I do have a copy of here, Praying with the Saints, an inspired collection of holy wisdom. So give us the little 30-second elevator pitch for somebody who hasn't heard of your book yet.
A collection of 100, I think it's 103 because the Fatima children are put in one entry, of saints that span the universality of the church from the beginning up until the very most modern saints that have been canonized just this fall. It contains a short biography. It's not a hagiography. I want to stress if people are looking for biographies of saints, they won't find this here. Just sort of a short overview of what the saint is. And then, as far as I can ascertain, either their words or a devotion that was very close to them. I was trained as a journalist, worked as a journalist, and so I tried very hard to vet the words and make sure that when you're reading something, you're really reading what this person either said or wrote.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I think the thing that makes it different from many other saint books, right? As you said, it's not really a biography, a brief introduction, but the fact that it's as the subtitle, we know how Ave Maria Press likes their subtitles on their books.
Yeah.
An inspired collection of holy wisdom, because it's actually their words, something they said or wrote or something in here. Which I think is really interesting. So let's talk about, why do we need the saints right now? Why did you write a book about saints? You know, there's lots of other ones out there, but why do we need them?
You know, in this time and day and age that we are in, we are really looking for role models that we can identify with. We're really looking for people that we want to stand out as examples of a way that we should live our life. And we're so quick to find examples and we think they're doing well. And then maybe it turns out that they have scandals in their past or they have something that's going on and they really aren't the person that we thought they were, or that we were led to believe they were. And so the saints are vetted. There's a process by which the saints have to go through. You know, it's not something you just don't suddenly one day wake up and because you were assassinated or because you did work in a soup kitchen and suddenly you're a saint. You know, it's a long drawn out process, even at the quickest moment. So when you read something from a saint, you have the assurance that their lives have really been looked at thoroughly. And there's not going to be any huge surprise that's going to emerge and people are going to go, oh, gee whiz, golly, that was not what I expected. So that's one thing. The saints are give us examples that we can be trustworthy, that they are trustworthy and that we can trust. And that the other is that they're very universal. In this book, you can probably find someone that fits either your ethnicity or your area of where you live or your status, as a lay person or as a young person or as an old person or whatever your status is, you can find someone, because the saints are very universal. And the problem with when we come up with heroes in our day and age, they aren't that universality. And with the saints, there may be saints that you like that I don't particularly care for, that I don't particularly resonate with, or that don't really resound with what I need or want to say. But there will be a saint for that, because the saints have lived in every condition that we've lived in, and they've experienced all the kinds of things we have. Maybe not exactly the same, because we're in a different modern time, but certainly the emotional experiences will have been similar.
I love the whole idea that they're role models who have been vetted. I may have
Mhm.
to borrow that when I do my talks with teachers and catechists. In fact, I was talking with the DRE online today, and she wants me to come talk about Saints who are catechists. And I was like, yeah, I could definitely do that. And I love that we can call them vetted role models now.
Got it. Yes.
So
Um,
how do you picture people using this book, right? I've written some books on saints who were teachers. I've got my Mother Cabrini one up there above my head. I've read some other books. Some of them go like day by day, like by the saints' feast day, and you read like one a day. How do you picture this one being used by people?
I'm hoping that either people have a saint that they've heard of or that they like, and they might look them up and see something that they've said. You know, I also think that might be a value at just opening it at random and
Mm,
saying, who's here? What's this saint? What do I know about? I think it could be used if you know a prayer and you want to look up a little bit more about what the prayer says. That would be one thing. But my goal, I think, is that to give people sort of a smorgasbord of prayer that they can look through it and sort of flip through it. There's titles in it, so you can flip through it and say, "Oh well, I'm really not in a real cheery, gratitudey mood. What do we have to say it here? It's feeling a little down or depressed, or you're worried, or you're particularly happy." And you can kind of look and find a topic. And then I'm
mhm,
also thinking that this would be really a great way, especially the shorter prayers, for families to use as grace. I think that
mm.
that would be just to find a short prayer, one of the prayers, read a prayer of saint either at bedtime or as a prayer of grace. Just a lot of them are long, but a lot of them are very short too. And so just
Yeah.
something that you can sort of break up the prayers. Now we have the mass and we have the traditional prayers of the church, like the rosary and those things. But sometimes those things just don't touch us emotionally in the same way. They just don't resonate with where we are. And I think that you can pretty much find in here a book, if you flip through it, through this book, you can find a prayer that will resonate with where you are. And when you don't really know what words to use, you can sort of use these words. Because I sometimes say that I found myself so often in my youth, I sort of worried in the direction of God. And I did, sort of kind of said, I'm worried about this, but it was just kind of cast heavenward. It wasn't actually what I'd call a prayer. And so sometimes these will give us some words to put into those feelings.
Great. All right. So now I have to know, you've got about 103 of them in here. Do you have a favorite one or a favorite prayer in here?
Well, I have a number of favorites, but one of my really all-time favorites is Nicholas Black Elk. He
Mm,
was he was he's a Native American. If he is canonized, he will be the first male
yeah.
Native American U.S. saint. There's some issue rather. Kateri Tekakwitha was in the United States or was in Canada
Mm.
because those countries didn't exist when she was there. But he's a bona fide American saint, and he's a bona fide U.S. Native American. Um, what I love about him, well, one thing is that I grew up in Montana, and he fought against Custer at the Battle of the Little Bighorn,
Ah,
which gives me just this wonderful historical context for him. But he never abandoned his culture. He was able to become, and he's a catechist, a
mm-hmm,
very,
mm-hmm.
very well known catechist. He never abandoned his culture, he never abandoned his traditions, and yet he never diluted the Catholic faith. And he was able to negotiate that tricky path that a lot of us try to negotiate because we don't want to abandon our traditions, especially if we come from a different culture or other than American white people. We don't want to abandon that. If you're a person of color or if you come from another country, you don't want to abandon your traditions, and yet you don't want to water down or somehow uh, corrupt, I guess that might be
Yeah.
the word, the Catholic faith. So Nicholas Black Elk was able to do that just beautifully. And he speaks so eloquently to the need that we have now to recognize that we are all part of this world. We can't separate ourselves out from the world. It's not like us against the world, that we and the animals and the plants are all part of this planet, or excuse me, are all part of God's creation at the same time. As far as a prayer that I like particularly, I'd say my favorite prayer is Julian of Norch's, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Because I think it covers so many times. You can say it as a prayer of pleading, all shall be well. As if you're just,
Right.
sure me it's going to be okay.
Fake it until you make it. All shall be well. All shall be
All
well.
shall be well. All shall be well. Okay. Or you can say it in a sense of gratitude. Yes, all shall be well. Or you can simply use it as a really nice mantra of comforting when you just really don't know what else to say, and it reaffirms that faith that tells us even if things don't look really great right now, all shall be well. And so that I really love that.
Yeah. Oh, those are both beautiful. Yeah. Nicholas Black Elk is in my Saint Squad for Teachers, and I'm sure he's one of the catechist saints I'll be talking about. When
He's just,
I was
he's
catechist.
just, he's just, he's amazing,
Yeah.
and just such a, his words are just so cogent for today.
Yes. Yeah. You and I were talking about dissertations before we got on the air, and my dissertation was on engendering empathy for immigrants in middle grade readers through culturally relevant young adult literature. And he is one of my examples of being culturally relevant in the way that we teach, because as you said, he did not abandon his
No.
culture when he converted to being a Catholic, and
No.
he found a way to bring them together. And we can do that as catechists, as teachers, any of us who pass on the faith, finding ways to connect people's culture and making the faith relevant to their culture. That's where real learning happens, is when we can make connections between what we already know and the new thing that we're learning.
Well, my dissertation, as we said before, was on illustrations, 2D illustrations of pet cats in ancient Egyptian Theban tombs. And the only relevance that I can find with the saints is I think Saint Gertrude, who is the patron saint of cats, I think she would approve. But I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of overlap between ancient Egyptian cats and saints. But that's the best I can come up with.
Well, we'll think about it. There's probably there's a saint out there for everything. So
Saint Gertrude is the patron of saints, of cat lovers. So we'll put her in there.
We'll put it in. Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Before I let you go, where can people find out more about you and Praying with the Saints and any of your other work?
They can find out a little bit about me on my website, woodeene.com, which is not terribly current, but it's up there because, as we said, my time in the last couple of years has been just absorbed with doing cats and dissertations. They can connect with me on Facebook. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook and send me a invitation. I have an author page on Facebook, which is currently in the process of being updated. So that will be there. It also lists some of my other books that I've written about saints and some of the other books. So their best bet is probably to try Instagram with Woodeene Koenig-Bricker, or to try Facebook with Woodeene Koenig-Bricker.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to meet you and to chat with you tonight.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and thank your audience.
All right. Thank you. Okay. We're going to kind of wave goodbye to Woodeene, and hopefully I'm going to get you back into the waiting room. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. If you have read any of her works, or if you got your hands on a copy of this, it hasn't been out for very long. I did get my copy, I don't know, a few weeks ago or so. So I've made it through the first few saints. It's alphabetical, so I'm working my way through the A's still right now. But I don't know. I might do like Woodeene suggested and just one day open it up and go to a random one. Of course, my girl Frances Xavier Cabrini is in here, but there's so many great saints to check out in here if you're looking for something short and sweet again, because like she said, it's just a little bit of a biography and then something or a couple of things that saint said or wrote. So if this is your first time on Cath-Lit Live and you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see all of the future episodes. I do about one per month. And so until next month, I'm just going to wish you all happy reading.